All right, let's this is a meetup for today's date. Today is what? Uh 6, okay. So let's do meetup Feb 6. And we're just gonna call it Cube. We're gonna make this public for now, no big deal. And then let's create the project. All right. So what you see in here now, I've got my project created. I have not put anything in the README. We can make changes to this README. So let's go over here. Move that out the way. Hit edit, and we'll say. And for those that want to learn Markdown language, I know Dion has a good link, and I think she's posted in the Slack too. But here's the Markdown tutorial. Let's go there, put it there, and then let's go back over here. Let's put down Markdown tutorial. All right, let's get back in here. All right, so we'll just say setup meetup for DigitalOcean and Kubernetes. So we're gonna do two things. So we need a runner for DigitalOcean, and we need to register the runner. All right, so let's save that. Let's get to the nitty grit, and that would be back here. If we go down to operations and we go to Kubernetes. So what I want to do now is I want to add a cluster to my Kubernetes to my project. The reason why I'm showing you this way is here's a couple of things. Um, if you want to learn some basics about Kubernetes, this is probably the easiest way. The second one is if you want to learn some basics of just what is a cluster, this is probably the easiest way. Now, is this overkill for learning Linux? Absolutely. However, it gives you a good idea of what to look out for and what's ahead, and say, hey, whether you want to go down this route. But we are gonna learn some Linux stuff, but we're gonna use packet.net to do this. All right. So now let's name our cluster, and you can see back over on my Google Cloud, I don't have any clusters. So we'll go back and forth. So we'll call this meetup Feb, not Jeb, Feb 6. Environment, nothing, because I logged in, it automatically found my projects. We'll put this in US East 1. We'll do just 3 nodes. Remember, when you're doing clusters or anything of that nature, everything comes in threes. So everything comes in odd numbers, not in threes. Everything comes in odd numbers. So 3, 5, 7 are always what you want, and that allows you high availability within that. And just think about your RAID partitions when you're thinking about something like this, not a RAID 0 or a RAID 1, but your RAID 5 and so forth. All right, so we're gonna leave the machine size. We can have different machine size, but right now this works. And then we'll just create a Kubernetes cluster. All right, so it's going up here. It's telling me that it's going out to create my cluster. So let's close this out. Where did you go? see if we refresh. All right, refresh. We see that it's spinning up. We have three nodes that are attached to this, and let's see what happens when we click here. See if we can see them spinning up. No, we can't. All right, so we got the three nodes that are attached to that. We got some more information here and so forth. So what we've done basically is we went to GitLab and we spun up a Kubernetes cluster, and then we're gonna have some add-ons from there. Let's see if we have some questions. All right, the questions. All right, so while we're spinning that up, I want to show you what we're gonna be doing. Um, did I close it? No. So we're basically what happens is with Kubernetes, it spins up. We'll install a GitLab runner, and so let's talk about a GitLab runner. And this GitLab runner can be used for. I don't know why that does that. This GitLab runner can be used for DigitalOcean, which is what we're gonna do. But let's talk about the basics of a GitLab runner. So here's like, again, written in Go, and it's a simple binary, and it gives me the ability to interact with my cluster, and the GitLab runner that gets installed on my cluster gets installed with admin privileges. And the same way I can put this GitLab runner on a Docker container out in DigitalOcean to do an act. So let's say I write a bash script, and inside now, and I'll give you an example of a GitLab runner as well too. Let's go over to one of my projects. Let's go back to cloud demo, and let's go look at a GitLab runner, just a basic one. So in here, basically, if you ever played with Jenkins, it's set up the same way. Or I could come in here and I say, well, I'm pulling this image from the Docker repo or whatever repo I point my GitLab to, and then do some things for me in different stages. And you can set up those stages and go from there. So what this runner does, anytime I make a commit within this runner, it's gonna automatically go do a deployment. And what you'll see is some jobs being ran. So here are some pipelines. I got rid of mine, but let's look at one that's actually passed multiple times, and I think it's way back here. I don't think this is a good view, but let's look at it. So in here, you'll see that I can look inside this runner and I can tell, what I did, what's going on, if it failed, what stage did it fail at. What GitLab does is they have what they call auto DevOps, and they have a whole environment and stuff set up for you automatically. Let's go back and look at our project that we were working on, that we just spun up everything. Let's see where we're at. Let's see, Kubernetes configured. I think it's now, it's deployed now. So now if we go back over to our DigitalOcean, sorry. If we go back to Google Cloud, we'll see that it's been deployed. And I need to pull this up over here because I always get confused. And let's go down here to Kubernetes clusters. All right, you see that I've got it spun up. And then it gives you the location, some default stuff, my endpoint. I have some credentials that are associated with it. That's usually your admin, your certificate, and your password. And then they got a group of instances, so I can click in here. And then you'll see I have 3 instances that are stood up for me. So basically, if one of these instances go down, the containers that are on that instance should migrate to my other two machines. So that's part of having that cluster. So it automatically does that for you. All right, so let's go back to my GitLab and let's move this over here so we can keep them together. And then we got to install Helm. Helm is this is the way you install your applications. So you use Helm. We won't get into all the nit and the grit of Kubernetes tonight. I just want to go through the GitLab and get our environment set up, and then we'll go back over some applications, some Linux commands that we're going to need, and so forth. Also, if you have not taken the time, let's do this as well. I have it on the mind map where you should be able, and let me share this with you so that you all have it, where you should be able to install the SDK from Google Cloud. So let me look on here. That's DigitalOcean. This is GCP, but I know I had it on here. SDK, GCP. Oh, I didn't put the link on here. Oh, here you go, right here. All right. And I already have it set up on my machine, on my laptop. But they walk you through it here on how to set it up. So basically, what ends up happening is I actually need to probably authenticate my stuff with this particular one. We'll find out. Let's go back and see where my Helm is at, and then I'll do that. So Helm is installed. My ingress controller allows me to have a way to contact publicly my applications can then point to my ingress controller so I can see them internally. So they run like with Docker containers, they run on a particular port. You have to expose it, and my ingress controller allows me to peer into uh, that particular port for that application that it's running on. So let's do an install of that. Cert Manager is what it sounds like. Dealing with Kubernetes search. And then we'll install Prometheus so we can see, get statistics and so forth of the cluster. And then we'll install the GitLab runner. I won't be installing the GitHub stuff because I'm not doing, GitHub, Jupyter stuff because I'm not doing any Jupyter playbooks or anything of that nature. Notebooks, I'm not doing anything like that tonight. Then we're not doing any data science stuff. And then Knative, uh, this right here, I have not played with. So it said you need a Knative domain. Let's go over here and look at it. So look at this. So let's see. Provides a set of middleware components that are essential to build modern, source-centric, container-based, that's a lot of words, that can run anywhere on-premise, in the cloud, or third-party data center. Deliver friendly software. Supports popular pattern development. Run serverless workloads. And okay, yeah, this is where we start getting into serverless. And I haven't played with serverless just yet. All right. So let's see where we're at. All right, that's installed. It's going to register an IP address here. So once that IP address gets registered, we'll then have public access, or we'll be able to expose our applications to the public. Come on, don't be so slow. Well, let's go in there and do Cert Manager while that catches up. Come on, you can do it. There you go. There it is. So there's my IP right there. And we have to do a couple of other steps. So Prometheus and then GitLab runner. All right. So I have this Kubernetes cluster out there, and I have my SDK installed already. So make this a little smaller. Let's do see, history. What is it called? G-Cloud. All right, so let's do that. Let's do a G-Cloud init. I think I'm okay with doing this. Yes, reinitialize default, yes. And this is what you would go through if you were initializing your stuff. Yes. And I'm gonna choose one, because that's why I want everything to be deployed. And so now we're up and running. So I should be able to, I need to authenticate to my cluster. Let me see if kubectl will let me do it. Kubectl git pods dash all dash namespaces. I just want to see if it's going to pull it back. I think I may have to register the actual environment, the actual Kubernetes cluster on my particular laptop. Yeah, it's not pulling back anything. Let me see. Git pods. Yeah, it doesn't know what to do with that. So we'll fix that. All right, let's install Prometheus. And then we'll do the GitLab runner. And then we'll have to authenticate with our environment. Let's look that up while that's going. Any questions so far? Anybody able to follow along or not follow along? No? Okay, cool. All right, that's installing, and I can't see, it won't let me do the next ones. I have to do it one at a time. So let's look up Kubernetes. Let's see. Register. See kubectl GCE. Got that. We can create a cluster, but I just need to register. Need to obtain my credentials for it. Is it a token? Let's try that person. Oh, you're still going. All right. I am pulling back something. So I'm gonna do a history. Oops. Config. And let's see if we can find this. And if not, I might have to do, okay, we found that. Let's go back up here. What I'm trying to find is some commands I ran before. So let's get, okay, in that view, but I don't want cloud native. What the view I want is the view of this one. So let's grab that. And we actually, when we did this command, config view, it gave me what I wanted. And that was, see, that's cloud native. Oh, I wonder if I'm in the wrong zone. I am. Let's see. This is in US East B. So let's go back over to here. And let's do the G Cloud init again. So reinitialize. Yes. Yes. But we need to configure the zone. And that zone should be, I did choose one. Okay. All right. So let's go back up. Let's see why we're not seeing our cluster. All right. That's cloud native. I don't see the Meetup one. All right. I wonder if it has to wait for a, what you call it? Let's go over here. Let's do install that. We can't manage anything out of this right here. It's just gonna come up with this, and we have to go in and point to it and inside of Gcloud, and then it'll start reporting. So we won't worry with that right now. So right, I didn't mean to do Jupyter. Did anybody say anything? All right. So once that's done, we're done with that actually. Um, Here's our Meetup cluster name, our API. These are all our credentials, our certificate, our token. On the project namespace, you can leave blank or you can fill it in, as you can see. And you can save those changes. Nothing down here. So then you save changes. All right, you can see when I install Prometheus, now I'm getting information about the cluster and so forth. There is one other thing. I don't think it's environments. Go to settings. Let's go to operations. It's not that. I forget what it is. It's some environment variables that I have to set in here. And I always forget where that's at. Operations. All right. So you can add another cluster. That's done. That's done. That's done. All right. So for all intents and purposes, we are done with everything. All right. So let's put this down. What we've done. New document. So one, we have created a Kubernetes cluster. Two, we have installed applications within Gitlab to the cluster. Now three, we need to contact the cluster. So let's connect to the cluster. And I know I'm missing a step. Settings, merge. Let me go back over here. So if you look here, you'll see that the Kubernetes is configured. Now, another thing I can do now, I can enable auto Devops. And so now I can put this in here. It comes up with this domain, these wildcard domains. You can take a look at them. We're just going to use this for the cluster. So let's grab that and place that in here. We're going to do a continuous deployment, and it lets you know here if you're going to do not set this domain here if you're setting up multiple Kubernetes clusters with auto DevOps. So I can set up another cluster reaching out to Google Cloud for testing. I can have one for testing. I can have one for development, and then another one for production. So I can set up my stages inside my GitLab runner to show, hey, when you deploy this application, deploy the testing. or when you deploy this application after it comes back and it's a success, now go and deploy that application to my development environment. So let's save changes on that. Did you say? There we go. All right. And then let's expand, and we have runners. So here are those runners that I was talking about for GitLab, from GitLab to the cluster. There these the GitLab shared runners. They are also have admin privileges and so forth. So I'm gonna leave those as is. Oh, here it is. And so now I can come in here and set up environment variables for what I need. For like if I want to go to AWS, right? And I don't want to put my credentials inside of GitLab or whatever, I come in here and put those credentials in here. So that's what that's at. Um, Pipeline triggers. This is what they call legacy stuff. I was playing around with this because I was like, man, some stuff's not working, but I haven't really had a need for it as of just yet. I was just playing with it. And then your licenses, if you needed licenses. So basically, you've set up your Kubernetes cluster, your runner. Let's put that down. Oh, what else we did? We still haven't done this part yet. So let's make that bold. Let's not make all those bold. Four, we bold off. Set up. That's all. Set up GitLab runners. What else did we do in here? We've initiated auto DevOps. So now let's go back to our main. So now we've got auto DevOps enabled. You see that it's automatically trying to do something, with a commit here. And then we got that. So let's go look at one of the projects that I had up before. All right. So in here, let's grab this deployment file here. Let's add it. I just want to add it. I know I have one more step to do, but and let's contact the cluster. So let's add that to here. I don't want to fork it. I could have, but I don't want to. So in here, we're just going to click here. We're going to add a new file. We're going to cut and paste that file. We're going to call that file deployment.yaml. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to deploy a container. The name of that container is 1.81, and then it's not going in the default namespace. It's going in the privileged namespace for the Kubernetes cluster, and I want to show you that. And then we're going to deploy 3 containers, and the image that we're using is Nginx 1.81, 1.8.1, and then we're going to expose the container on port 80, and we're going to commit changes. And because we set up auto DevOps, we don't have to put in a GitLab runner. So if I went over here to jobs and I went over here because we did the auto DevOps, I want to show you what it's doing. Let's go back over to pipelines. Let's go here. So because we enable auto DevOps, it's building, and this is all coming from GitLab itself. This building is gonna run through all these checks, and again, it automatically is going to production. However, we can add in another cluster and not call this cluster production and call it testing. And then once it passes test, then deploy to development. Then once it passes development, then deploy to production, and then test for performance, or test for performance and then come back and deploy. So you can set up your automated DevOps how you want. So let's go back over here and see what's going on. You can see it's pulling and it's doing this thing. So it's talking to out to the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, let's see what happened with this build. Download newer image, unable to select build pack. Okay, let's go over to the project and find out what happened. Let's try something different here. I just want to try 1.79. I'll edit. And then we'll look up the error. And let's change this. So anytime I make any changes, it's going to deploy. So I'm not going to save this just yet. What we are going to do is open up another terminal. And then let's go down to CI/CD and let's go to jobs. And we can leave that. And then let's go here. 3, okay, nothing wrong there. Downloaded Heroku latest, unable to select build pack. Let's look that error up. It's gonna error out. Let's see what they're talking about here. Unable to select build pack. It's the runners fails. Okay, saying error. Boom, boom. And I ran into this before. Oh, okay. All right. That guy. That's what it was. All right. So let's make a note of that. We need to have the following in our repo. And we have to have the gem file, the gem.lock, and the rake file. So let's go back over to my project, which was my cloud demo project. And, oh, I set up my own runner there. Let's go. Not my group, sorry. This one. So here's the rake file. And we're gonna copy it. We're gonna call it rake file. So this is gonna fail, which is fine. But we want to add a new file. I'm gonna call that rake. Yeah, there we go, rake file. I'm gonna commit the change to that. We're gonna add another file. And that file is going to be the gem file. Leave. And from what I gather, you can set up this how you want, but I think these have to be in there. But I wasn't sure why. I haven't dove off into it yet. Okay. Let's go back to my project here. Let's do new file. And this was called a gem file. And the last one we got to do is a gem.lock. All right. So projects and gem.lock. And gem.lock. Any questions? Is everybody bored? All right. Come on, screen. There we go. Gem.lock. All right. Commit. And let's go back up to my pipelines. It's running again. It's probably gonna fail. Oh, this one may pass. Let's look at it. All right. So it's doing this thing. Let's let it do its thing, and let's go back to what we were trying to solve earlier, is find out where is my Kubernetes cluster at. I'm in the same domain. I'm in the same repo. I see my cloud native, but let me look at some history on some commands that I ran. Come on. Gcloud. And then let's pipe that over to less. So let's get some credentials for Meetup Feb 6. Okay, so I should be able to get pods now. Okay, we're getting a response. We weren't getting nothing earlier. So because it's nothing in the default namespace, we'll do all namespaces. And so we'll see now that I'm talking to my Kubernetes cluster from command line, and I see my runner. I see install the Jupyter. That failed on me before. That's fine. We're not gonna worry about that. But you can see my GitLab managed apps is in the name, that there's that namespace, and here's the Cube system namespace. And the way that the GitLab is talking to my Kubernetes cluster is through my GitLab managed runner namespace and my GitLab runner. So now let's get pods in dash dash namespace, and let's make that equal to GitLab apps. So now it's telling me what's in my GitLab, inside of my GitLab managed apps. And as you can see, we installed that Helm tiller, we installed the Prometheus, we were trying to install that Jupyter, the Ingress controller. All those end up being installed in that namespace. So when I deploy my app from here, it's going to be in that namespace. What is this? Did it error out? Of course it did. All right. Let's go back and look and see what happened. And where did it error out at? That looks like the rake it errored at. Could not detect rake task. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. That's fine. But what we can do is this. So, because I want you to see this. I know this. Well, I don't know if it works anymore because this is actually their controller. Let's change. Can we change the cluster? I don't see how I can change the cluster. Let's look, add a cluster, an existing cluster. Oh, I gotta go get all that information. All right, so let's go over here to GitLab. We're gonna get this information. This guy, and then we were over here in, I can't remember, was it in settings that we saw that? No. No. Where did we see the API? Oh, here you go. Okay. Here's the API. Grab that. The token. We'll grab that. And then we'll put it in. Oh, I guess the namespace. We need that namespace. So let's add that cluster. Okay, platform Kubernetes is reserved, cannot be duplicated, environment scope. Okay, well, let's see what happens if I get rid of this and do that. Yeah, I can't do that. Okay, so there's a FYI. You can't add that to an existing namespace. I mean, you can't add that cluster to an existing repo. So let's make note of that. Things you find out. Can't add to an existing repo. Somebody had a question? Oh, no. All right. So let's go back over to our project and let's see what's going on with our rake. Let's see, we had the gem.lock, we had the rake, and we had the gem file. And in our pipelines, it failed on a build. And it's failing after we get a Ruby. Okay, we passed the Heroku stuff. The bundler, that's the gems bundler that it does. And then language pack helpers cannot load rake file error. Ensure you can run against your app and using the production group of your gem file. So I wonder if I copied my gem file over wrong. Let's go back. And let's get this gem file. Let's copy that. Let's go back to my projects. Let's go here. Let's delete. All right, let's make a new file. And let's paste. Gem file. Make sure we get out of there. Make sure we don't have any errors. Let's commit. It starts is run. Just doing this auto DevOps. Let's do the build. We can come back over to here. We can see to get pods in the namespace or anything of that nature. I don't see nothing that's other than this install Jupyter that's failed on us. Let's do all namespaces. We don't have anything there other than the Jupyter. Nothing there. So far we're okay. So the question is, my past experience with Rails has been less than desirable, likely because I was flying blind trying to understand it. Is there anything anyone recommends or on learning more about it and how to use it? Any recommendations from anyone? All right, here we go. It's doing this thing. All right, so while that's doing that, while I wanted you to set up DigitalOcean, let's get on there. And we're just gonna follow these instructions. They're on the mind map. See this GCE, GitLab runners. I wanted to play with Alibaba. All right, so this should be the one for GCE. Yep. All right. I mean for DigitalOcean, not GCE. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's erroring out. I think it's something wrong with their stuff because that's not nothing I pull in. However, we can do. Oh no, we can't do that because it still uses that gem. But what I can do is this. Let's so I can show you. Let's go here. Let's turn off auto DevOps and save. Let's go to my cloud demo because I know this works. And we're gonna copy this one. And this is called gitlab.ciyyml. We're gonna go back to the project here. We're going to create a new file. We're gonna, oh snap, you didn't grab it. Did you? Oh yeah, it did. And then we're gonna call it that. And we're gonna commit those changes. It's gonna try to do its thing, but it's gonna fail. Let's go back to my cloud demo and let's grab this guy. This is the one we know works, and I can show you that it works. So let's grab that and put this back into here. And let's do a new file. I thought I had it in here, but I didn't. Maybe not. Do I have it in there? No, yeah, okay, I have it in there already. Okay, cool. Let's go into files. All right, so basically I can actually, I think this should be okay. Let's find out. Let's go look at the runner and see because we just changed some stuff. If not, I'll get rid of those files. Let me see. Oh, so this is my favorite error. Now, this error I was getting the other day, and this is one thing that just chaps my hide because I don't know why it keeps failing. However, we know this is in here. So I'll do this from command line, then I'll show you. So I'm deploying that out, the Nginx out, and I can do, let's get the pods and all the namespaces. Remember I named it Nginx deployment, and there it is. So it's deployed. So I grabbed all the namespaces, but it actually deployed in the Gitlab managed namespace. And so there you see it's up and running. What you don't see is it's not exposed. So this actually needs to get exposed. So I think I ran this the other day. So we're gonna expose this. We want to grab that. We're gonna change the name to Nginx deployment. Okay, now it's exposed. So the question becomes is, where did it get exposed to? All right. So let's find that out. Oh, somebody said something? Yeah, O'Reilly is a good one. All right, so we've exposed it. How do we know what we're exposed to? All right, so we have exposed. We haven't been exposed to asbestos. We've exposed. I knew that my mom would call. Expose Nginx. Nginx. I'm gonna have to disable her. We have exposed Nginx. Where I should do Kubernetes. Now we need to find the load balance. We need to find the ingress, but I think it's on 30. I think it comes out on 35. Let me go back. In operations, Kubernetes, but I think it creates another balance or another. It's not on this IP address. It shouldn't be. Yeah, see, it's not on that one. It gets exposed on another IP address. So we need to find it out. And we're looking for the IP. Somebody say something? Okay. So let's look and see if we can find where it was exposed to. So let's see. Let's look here. Okay. Let's describe the deployment then. Nginx deployment. Oh, did I do that wrong? Let's look. Oh, describe deployment. Hold on. Is that what it is? What did I call it? Nginx deployment. Yep. Kubectl, describe deployment, Nginx deployment. You don't like that? It's interesting. Let's try the service. So, was that a service? Let's see. So there's a load balancer. We redirect it. Let's see. How can we find the IP? Anybody got a clue? I forget, actually. I know it's a node port. And then this should be able to describe the services, but we didn't run a service. We exposed the node. We don't. Oh, you know what? You guys let me keep forgetting that. It's in the namespace. And the namespace is this one. It's not in the default one. There we go. All right. It's exposed on port 80, but it's not giving me the IP of the load balancer. See, there it is. See how it gives the internal IP. And they did it on a service. Let's look at our command. The target port and the exposed port is port 80. And type load balancer. So we don't have a service. Let's try that. Clear. Let's look at cube, CTL, git pods, dash namespace. Yep. Dash output equal wide. Oh yeah. Yeah, here's the IP. That's the internal IPs. So I wonder if I can hit the load balancer on port 80 and then go from there. Let's see. We have whoa, that's the URL. You want this guy? No? I figured as much. Knew you weren't gonna like me. That's what I got. You know it's working on port 80 on that, but we're not hitting the app. We should be hitting the Nginx app. I'll have to look that up. I'm gonna have to do some searching on that. But let's go over what we did so far. We were able to build a cluster. We got all the applications installed. We connected to the cluster so we can take that out of being bold. We've set up GitLab runners. I showed you how to do the auto Devops for it. I showed you how to do a runner. We deployed it. We've also needed to have the following in our repo, and this should be for auto Devops. So the other thing that we need to go back and do is we have an application in our repo, and that application is here in the cloud demo repo. And let me show you what I have in here. So basically these are your commands right here. I can literally leave this in here, or I can go to command line. I gotta fix my runner. And so this is gonna pull from, this is sitting out on Google Cloud, and it's gonna deploy in this namespace. All right, so if we now get the pods in that namespace, we'll see cloud demo right there. Basically, it's a build of a Docker container. So if we go back to this, This is sitting out there in uh, Docker land, and we just deployed it there. And then we can take this and do the same thing and expose cloud demo as well. All right, so we've exposed that as well. And finding out where that's exposed to, I have to look that up. But so all those have been exposed out to the public domain. I know that it gets it gets a IP address. So Kubernetes, or let's say kubectl, git load balancer. I think I just looked at this, didn't I? Let's try something. Yeah, I figured. Oh, hold on. Gotta get the namespace. Oh, there it is. So we'll go back and do the Nginx one too. So there it is there. And let's change this namespace to Nginx deployment. And so you can see the IP addresses are different. Nothing there. Nothing there. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. I don't think so. Because that's on a different load balancer. Yeah, nothing came out of it. Double check. And let's try port 8080. See if it redirects to 80. Nope, doesn't. Okay. So any questions on that? So what we did the GitLab runner. Let's go back and look at our cluster because it errored out when we were trying to do this inside of GitLab from a runner's perspective. We just went and did it from a command line, so we know these files work. So let's go in here and let's change this to 1.8.1 and then 1.8.1. All right, and then commit that. And it's gonna go out and build. All right, so onto my DigitalOcean stuff while that's doing this thing. So what it says for DigitalOcean, so we know that works. We didn't get nothing there. This is how you expose. I think it is. Yeah, it just failed on me. It just sent me an email saying that it failed. Let's look at this. We can close that guy. Where did it go? When all this fails, go back to the mind map. Okay. All right. So far we have to go out to create a droplet. And we choose a Docker image. So let's go over here. Let's create a droplet. Are they doing one-click apps? Yes. And they are choosing a Docker container. There you go right there. And then I think they chose something like $10, I think, when I was reading through it. Yeah. And I think they were in Amsterdam. We're going to choose that one. We're going to leave that as is, and then we're going to create. All right. So now Docker's up on that machine. We're going to log in to the Droplet. We're going to SSH to it. Once we log into the Droplet, we're going to run this command to go over and get. I'm not going to use this command. What I did, oh yeah, I can't use that command because it's not Red Hat, so I can't use that command. It's a Debian based, so we can run that. And then what I also did was I went out and found if you wanted to use other runners. So here's the RPM based runner if you want to use that. And I also found the one for the Debian based runner. So we can come here and probably use this as part of the latest and greatest. It's probably a little better. And then we'll can then do the apt get install because it's just point to a repo and then do a GitLab version. Then we have to go back into our GitLab interface and register the runner. And that very same once we register that runner, we can then set up that runner in one of our projects. So now we can deploy our container to get to DigitalOcean. And so that's why I say set up different projects because now we can do this on different projects. We can go and do this on different ones. I'm going to stop right here.